So how do you make a detective funny? No, this isn't a dad joke here. We're going to dissect the work of Agatha Christie and her titular character, Hercule Poirot. Let's go.
I sort of wanted to say, but I'm bum with the dad joke.
I was kind of waiting for that too. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Rob. This is Caren, and today we're going to ask, how does Poirot flip the script on mystery by making you laugh all along the way? Usually comedy and murder are not the thing. However, I know that what that Hulu show is with Steve Martin and Martin Short proved that wrong now. But if you guys are a fan of mystery and you want something that is a little different, you will appreciate the character of Hercule Poirot from her. So the first appearance we see from him is actually from a really old short story in the 1920s called The Mysterious Affair of Styles. And right from the get-go, you knew he was not your typical Sherlock Holmes, let's say. And I just gotta say, it's really funny how no matter what I do, I always have to compare to Sherlock Holmes. Like, there's no other detective in the world, apparently, other than him. I don't know why, but that's what happens.
I actually thought that too. So, and if two think it, it must be true.
If anybody out there can think of an actual legitimate famous detective, tell me. Otherwise, we're stuck.
Forever hold your peace.
So obviously we go behind his meticulously groomed mustache, which is hilarious to begin with. And we see that he embodies the image of the eccentric genius. Now, I've talked about this on other shows before with you. I love the character that's a little bit nuts, that's kind of goes against the grain, because in reality, that's more realistic, right, than somebody by the book. Now, again, people who love Holmes, he does it, I get it, that's good. Sherlock Holmes is a guy by himself, he does the job well. But Poirot here, he's such a hard last name to say. He definitely gives you a mystery that you kind of want to stick around for, because it's not so much that you care about what happens at the end. This guy is just, it's just funny. Like, you want to hang out with him. And you made a comment,
right?
You made a comment before we came on here how, like, everybody's in the crowd, you can't get away from him, no matter what you do. He's just there. He's like that kind of guy in the corner, like, hey, I'm still here. You're like, where did you come from? But he is hilarious. But he's also, he's fastidious, he is smart, and he's unparalleled to most, I think. And what makes him so funny, he talks about his brain as his little gray cells. And I mean, come on now. You got to think Agatha Christie here was probably just having the best time in the world, going, not only am I one of the few, female mystery writers here, but I'm just going to go all hell out and just do the weirdest thing I can do.
Right, gray matter. I think gray matter when I see that.
Right, exactly. And you know that she probably knew what these words meant, but people reading it were going, what are you talking about?
Right.
And I'm sure we'll go on a video about her, I'm sure, at some point. But you can tell from the get-go, like I said, that he knows what he's doing. But he likes to outwit you. He's kind of like the Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner thing.
Right.
He doesn't use his brawn. He uses his brain, literally. And he'll talk to you. He'll ask you questions. You won't even realize you're admitting to something, because you don't know that he's asking you that question. You just think he's chatting. Right. And by the end of it, you're going to realize, oh, crap, I just admitted to whatever.
Or you solved something you did. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's kind of cool, actually.
He's a very interesting guy. And I think one of the most interesting things that she writes with him is that humor. And let me clear up of what I mean. Obviously, there's comedy humor and there's, I guess, written humor. And in this case, it's not so much that he's slapstick. He is just generally funny, not on purpose. And that's kind of the humor. Right, that we have here. What do you think on that?
I do. He pokes fun at everything. He pokes fun at human people, himself, the absurdity. I mean, He is what you're. He does. He says what we're thinking.
Yes. Spot on, spot on. Yeah, exactly. No, he's human behavior at its best.
Right.
He's the character that you love from anything that basically speaks up and
Right.
says the most blunt, rude, whatever. But then you go and you go, that's what I was thinking. So he's the person that does what
Right.
you don't want to
And
do.
you kind of want to know what his next adventure is going to be. I mean, that's why he keeps you coming back for another story and another story and another story. He's a lot of fun for sure.
Now I know we're talking the book, but fortunately or unfortunately, everything is media now. There's different versions of him. We have a guy who played him back on the BBC, I think, in the '70s, and then we have what is his name now? Who's been in the movies recently? Kenneth Branagh, who plays him now.
Right.
What do you? I mean, is it visually appealing, or are you okay with reading him just as well? Like, do you need to see him, or are you okay opening the book?
I think you don't need to see him, with the exception, like the Orient Express. It because they're all trapped in this train and they're all together, and it's not just him. He's in, as you said earlier. He kind of just is. He's there. He's there. But I think generally, I think because of the way she writes, you can see it in your head.
Yeah. And, again, we're always the proprietor of saying, read the book, don't watch the movie. But, it's going to come up. All these things are now films. What are you going to do?
Right.
But yeah, I think he's just amazing. And I know we have a couple little questions here to go over. So hit me with them.
All right. So, I mean, you mentioned earlier, he talks about those little gray cells, which, haha, I think that's hysterical. But he relies on psychology, clearly.
Yes.
And do you think that that is actually what sets him apart from other detectives? Is that, it's not just it's not the physical prowess, it's that he likes to solve problems. I think of Columbo in
Okay. So there's another guy.
modern day Columbo, and I think there's a new show on television, Elsbeth or whatever her name is. The same kind of, like, I don't really know where I am, but I'm really good at solving these things, kind of thing.
And I think that's what makes him one of the best
Right.
detectives from literature there. And again, somebody might say, well, that's what Sherlock Holmes does too. But Sherlock Holmes, to me at least, and I don't know if I'll ask you, he gives you that kind of big bodied, like, I know what I'm doing and I'll hurt you if I need to.
Right.
Poirot doesn't give you that scare. He kind of just goes, hey, I'm a little bit crazy, but you like me.
Yeah, and he's okay making fun of himself. Sherlock Holmes does not make fun of himself.
Yes.
When you hear Sherlock Holmes, and it's Watson, right? It's his sidekick.
Yeah, Watson.
Very
Yeah.
serious. I mean, this is very serious stuff, right? He's a detective, and with his eye, thing. It's serious stuff. Perot is, or however you say his last name. It knows how to knows its self was ethic.
Efficacy, I think.
Yeah, he makes fun of himself, and even if he doesn't, the words that he uses, you know that it's okay to laugh, not just with him, but at him. He's funny.
And that's perfect, because I think he will purposely say those things for you to laugh at him,
Yeah.
when really what you're doing is laughing with him, and you just don't realize it. So I think definitely the psychology behind it. And again, like you mentioned, there's Columbo, there's the stuff like that. I think that's what makes those detectives more fun. Yes, obviously some of them do need more of the visual because you have to see them. But I think what Christie does amazingly here, as many mystery writers do, is you can see him on the train or in the hotel or in the wherever he is. And it's in the book. And, I read a lot of mysteries now lately. And that's what I like. I like being able to visualize it myself.
Right.
And, he's got the mustache, he's got the hat. He looks like somebody who wouldn't be doing this job. And yet here he is.
He belongs on a Monopoly board.
Exactly. He looks like he's a cartoon character from
Right.
some sort of cereal commercial, and yet he's solving mysteries. So I love it. I think that's what makes him one of the best detectives out there.
So I have one more question before we move on. So we've talked about his meticulous attention to detail and his emphasis on order and symmetry. does that also separate him from other detectives who may be more the the intuitive type or the instinct?
I think in a way, yes. I think obviously all detectives use that instinct and they have to be very careful. But I feel like as we were saying about Sherlock Holmes is kind of a show off. He does it. He goes, I know I'm right. Don't bother denying it. This is done. I'm going home. Perot, he wants you to play along. I don't remember the game Mind Trap where you had to solve those puzzles and it
Right.
was there. That's what he reminds me of. He takes you into the puzzle and goes, okay, so we got three people here. We have, a gun, we have a piece of rope. It's kind of like Clue, right? In a way. Who did it, where and why. But he doesn't want to give it away. And I think that's what makes her books again so great. And it might just be me, but most mysteries that I read, within the first 10 pages before anything happens, I already know what's going on. And that might be on purpose for that story. But again,
It's not engaging. It's not
exactly, you open the book, you go, okay, I'm done, and then you put it down. So I like how his meticulousness, the emphasis on
Mhm.
the most small detail makes you so intrigued on it. It's intrigue. That's the word I'm looking
Right.
for. He keeps you intrigued, and then even at the end of it, you realize the answer was so simple, but you're like, that was a lot of fun. Let's do it again.
Let's do it again. When's the next book? So keeping along with the genre, there's some books in the store we want to point out. First
So
one.
we got a few good ones. So this, I mean, we know his name. I think he was a lawyer at some point, which is why,
I think
yeah.
you will.
So we know Grisham. All of his books are basically about law. Yes, we know this is the movie cover. Disregard that. But this one, I think, is one of the most famous ones out there that he's had. I think early '90s, if I'm right,
Yeah, I
maybe even
think
earlier than
the
that.
one that I remember is the Firm.
The Firm. Okay, so that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you like law mystery, pick him up. This one, I think he's great. He's one of the few guys that I can say he writes too many books, but he's good. I don't mind it. Like
Right.
he's,
And it's $4. Scan the QR code.
there you go.
The next book is called Sharp Object.
So if you guys remember Gone Girl,
Mhm.
it was turned a movie, and I think this was actually made into an HBO show with Amy Adams or one of them. But again, it's a very good in depth, a little bit kind of deep and a little darker. So you have to kind of go in knowing that it might be a little much. But if you like the intensity of a good kind of a dark mystery, I think she's great. Personally, I think it's better as a book than a movie. I've seen the film. Yeah. If you like a darker story, I think this is a great one right here.
And then the last one we're going to put up is The Girl with
Ah,
the
the
Dragon.
one that always seems to have that 50-50. People love it, people hate it. I know it's an entire series. This one's interesting because the main character teams up with somebody who does not look like, kind of like Perot, would be solving a murder mystery. I think they refer to her as a tattooed punk prodigy.
Say that 3 times fast.
Exactly. But again, if you like kind of a more thriller, kind of a more strange mystery, go pick it up. Again, I think he's got 3 in the entire series here. We have this one for $7. Can't beat that deal.
No,
So
you can't beat
there you go.
that. And I mean, you notice we're wearing our T-shirts. You've got a bunch of merchandise that people can go and pick up. Scan the code for merchandise on your far right. You have comic books in the bookstore,
Mhm.
paperbacks, hardbound. Each one of those QR codes will take you to the right place on the site. Any last thoughts about this? I mean, this is I just remembered how much I like Agatha Christie. It's been quite a while since I've read her.
And she's still popular. I mean, if you go online, her books are worth a lot of money now. And that tells you something from
Mhm.
somebody from the 1920s who is still doing it. Now, yes, maybe the media has helped her a little bit to reinvigorate, but honestly, she needs no support.
Right.
She knew how to write. And, to this day, you can't go anywhere, whether it's a bookstore or online, and not see her face
Right.
with her book. So if you have not yet read a book, one of my personal favorites is actually called The Body in the Library. It's got that little library mix, which is me,
Which is
plus the mystery. But again, any of her books are great. Go check them out. You're going to understand why we love this guy so much.
Yeah, and again, just go check out the Next Chapter bookstore.shop. So, hey guys, have a great day. Thanks for joining us. See you next time. Bye.